Today, we'll be covering lies of self-identity, being convicted versus being committed, and we're going to go over the DWMA, which is an awesome way to assess your athletes in a short amount of time. Let's get to it. One of the areas we covered this week was lies of self-identity, and we went over a few common ones which often ring true for the majority of us. In addition, most of these lies will also reflect the people you work with or the athletes you work with. So the first one is, I am what I have. So often we base who we are off of what we own at that time. The next one is, I am what I do. That's basing your whole reputation off of your profession or what you do on a day-to-day basis. The next one is, I am what others say or think of me. And in today's social media age, this lie is definitely very common. So often we're basing our whole opinion off of how many likes we can get or if we can have great interaction on social media, but we fail to look introspectively and continue to build ourselves. The next one is, I am nothing more than my worst moment. And this is very true with athletes who, for example, if they're in a championship game and the game's coming down to the wire and they make an error and then their whole entire career is based off of that individual situation. One example that comes to mind is J.R. Smith in Game 1 of the 2018 finals.
Hill misses. Rebound goes to the Cavs. J.R. Smith brings it back out. Throws it to Hill. Hill shot blocked. And we'll go to overtime. You get the feeling J.R. Smith thought they had the lead. He didn't know the score.
I think exactly. That's a bad mistake by J.R. Smith.
We'll build our entire reputation off of that and we'll feel like we're a failure in life, whereas we actually have done so many better things throughout our lives, but we base our whole entire career or our reputation off that one moment. And the next one is, I am nothing more than my best moment. So this is very similar to the last lie that we tell ourselves. However, in this situation, we're quite often telling ourselves, I am what I do and I am successful. However, when I'm failing, that's not me. And we're constantly looking for the next opportunity for us to succeed rather than building ourselves in the moment. The lie that I struggle with the most personally is I am what I do. I'm so often caught up with what's the next job I can take, what's the next book I can read, who's the next person I can reach out to, that I honestly forget to take care of those who are immediately in front of me, those who love me, those who are here on a daily basis. One of the quotes we talked about this week was, improvement doesn't happen without truth. This week really challenged me to think through the lies that I tell myself and to figure out the deficits and to combat them and figure out ways to get better. Another area I was challenged this week was to figure out whether I was convicted or if I was committed. Committed is like an obligation. For example, a job. Yeah, you definitely need to show up to your job every single day, but eventually you might quit your job, you might take another one, you might take a vacation. Convicted, on the other hand, you got skin in the game. If you mess up, you have something to lose. I've been really convicted this week of having a better networking game plan. So often I've added coaches on LinkedIn, Facebook, things like that, like their statuses, maybe send them a DM on occasion, but there's no real game plan there. So my conviction from this week, create an actual game plan of the specific number of individuals I'll have to reach out to each week, in addition to building the relationships with the individuals I already currently know. Episode 1, we went over some of the tests of the FMS. The FMS is an awesome tool to screen athletes and to see movement dysfunction. However, it's really hard to do when you only have one coach and you have a lot of athletes. It's pretty time intensive. In addition, it doesn't always replicate functional movement. This week, we covered the Dynamic Warm-Up Movement Assessment, or DWMA, which is Coach Bealey's movement dysfunction identification and corrective exercise course. The really cool thing about this is that unlike the FMS, you can use it in your warm-up and you can use it with a large group of athletes at the same time. DWMA has movements that range from being very stable to movements that are very unstable and also very complex. A variety of movement patterns helps identify joint dysfunction that may have been missed in a previous test. The second great part to the DWMA is that there's a corrective exercise portion. After identifying movement trends in your athletes, you can actually go into the weight room and start working on them. Often, when coaches identify movement weaknesses in an athlete, for example, their glutes aren't firing, they try to perform corrective exercises that try to fix the part rather than actually fixing the whole entire pattern. I really want to be aware of the fact that with using the DWMA or any other corrective exercise series, that we're actually trying to fix the overall movement pattern to get our athletes back to performing at their optimal level. I'm really looking forward to applying the DWMA, first off with myself, just to kind of get used to it and see how I respond to it, because I definitely feel as though as a coach, I should be able to do everything I program with my athletes, and I should be able to know what it feels like. And then with my teams that I work with this next year, I'm pretty stoked for the opportunity to not just see issues, but also to quickly attack them and to improve the athletes I work with. And that's a wrap for episode 3. Thanks for checking out another episode. Please let me know if you have any feedback, and stick around for one final quote.